So something a little bit different from the normal Rover content. Thought I'd share it though, it might be of interest to somebody. I used this Dremel drill, it's a Dremel 8200. I used it on the Rover to cut a very small bolt head off, and what I noticed was when I was using it, sometimes it was very sluggish to speed up, and also there was a slightly odd smell coming from it. I've had this drill for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. I think I got it in a sale. I think they're over £100 now in the UK. And it's kind of useful. I know people say that Dremels are toys, and to some degree they are, but for very small stuff actually it is quite useful. So I didn't really fancy, I don't really use it enough to spend over £100 on another one, and there are much cheaper versions, non-Dremel brands. I think Dremel's owned by Bosch now. Anyway, I kind of took it, I thought, well, I'll take it apart. You see quite a lot of content on YouTube where people take power tools apart, and it's interesting to see what the failure is, and you never know, you might be able to fix it. So I've taken it apart. Basically the shell just comes apart. I think it's 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's this little clip which holds the two halves together down there where the battery goes in. It comes apart very easily. You can see I've taken out the electronics. The motor, just it's push like crimp connectors onto the motor, so it's almost as if it's made ready to be taken apart. Circuit board's pretty fragile. This is actually this micro switch here is the main on-off switch, and it's actuated by this lever that moves the micro switch. So it's really quite delicate, and there's no real dust sealing on anything. This is the speed control, which again is pretty delicate. This thing goes on top, but it's certainly not professional grade by a long shot. However, from what I can see, the problem is the motor. So this is the motor that sits in there like that. It's got a fairly sizable bearing on the shaft. This is to lock for the locking pin that goes in to hold the shaft still when you need it to. So it's got a fairly large sealed bearing on the output shaft, but that sits in this case like that. So there could be a fair amount of movement. If you're pushing sideways down, there could be quite a lot of pressure still on that bearing. I think the bearing's going to last longer. If you look at how small the material is around that bearing, this case is just going to flex if you're doing that, using it to do that. And I've probably abused this a bit, cutting things and grinding things that are probably beyond its capabilities. So although there's a big bearing, I think as the case flexes, actually what's happening is a lot of the pressure is put on this front bearing here in the motor, and I'm assuming that's just a phosphor bronze. I don't know, actually I can see it doesn't look, this end doesn't look phosphor bronze. It looks like an actual bearing, but an incredibly small bearing, as you can see. So I can't see in there. I don't know, I'm not quite sure how this shaft is held on, but if I hold this and wiggle it, you may be able to hear what part of the problem is. Hang on a minute. So that's just moving the shaft side by side, and I can feel quite a lot of movement in that. So I think basically this front bearing is shot, and that's causing arcing and all sorts on the commutator. So I thought, okay, well that's probably scrap then, but I thought, well, I'll go and have a look online, and I did a bit of googling around, and amazingly you can get replacement motors, and I think this is about 20 £2, something like that. So I have here a brand new motor and shaft and everything. There's no movement at all in this. It's basically should be just a drop-in replacement. So yeah, they are identical. So I just thought it was interesting that you can get spares for these things. I would have assumed they were pretty much just throwaway items, but yeah, you can get a spare and it's a lot cheaper than buying a new one. So what I was going to do was just put this back together and then try it, see if it works. So it's going to be a little bit of a fiddle. I have cleaned things a little bit, but I'm not going to go over the top cleaning things up. See, that's the on-off switch, and that presses against the micro switch down here. I'm assuming that, so let's just have a look. So that sits in like that, and that seems to locate. You can see how it's wiggling about in there. You know, I think that, to me, that seems pretty pointless, really, unless the case was much stiffer around the head here. Anyway, so that then drops in like that. So okay, so red. So it's going to go that way. I'm assuming we are putting this on. See, there's a red mark there, so I'm assuming that goes to the red wire. Oop. Push these on, fairly tight connections. I mean, it's got no power, this thing. It does spin quite quickly, but as I say, it is actually, I find it quite handy for some things. You know, when you just need a very light tool to do something. So I think let's put that on there. And that board seem very positively located, the boards. So that's the, oops, that's the on-off switch there. It's pretty, yeah, it's just kind of resting there, very odd. That's for the battery. So I built that in the wrong half of the case, because this side of the case actually does have slots for the circuit boards. That side doesn't, so it's not the most positive location, but at least there is something. I thought it was a bit odd that they were just floating in the air. So yeah, there's actually, as you can see, there's slots for the circuit board on this side, not the other one. So try and get this back in. Ooh, it'd help if I do it the right way around. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, there's a slot there in this side of the case for this circuit board as well, and well, there's a slot both sides for the battery connector, which you'd expect, because that takes a bit of a bash when you slam the battery in. So this hopefully will go together now. This bit goes So that goes there. That is the locking pin, which goes. It's a bit of cardboard. So this locking pin goes in. Okay, like that. And that locks that. The on-off switch is, you can see there, it's pressing on the micro switch. Should be back together. Let's see. That looks about right. Using torque screws, which are a pain. I think it's the on-off switch doesn't seem very. Ah, there you go. That's tight. That's made it more positive. That slides. Okay, then that goes on the end, which I think is more for holding the case, stopping the case moving, and then this just pushes in. There to hold the two halves of the case together there. So that should be working again. Let's see. Get a battery. So this is 10.8 volts. I've also seen 12 volts. I don't know if there's a newer version, but okay, no magic smoke. There you go, that seems to work. And the locking pin works. Yep, the locking pin works. I think I bought this chuck from somewhere, I can't remember where, but it's quite useful. It's just like a normal drill chuck. I mean, it's pretty, not very accurate, but anyway. So there you go. I think that is fixed. This old motor, as I say, because it's wobbling, it's doing all sorts of things. I don't know if the windings have hit the outside area or something. Anyway, but that's basically scrap. But for £20. Or 22 or 25 or whatever it is, including postage, it's better than spending 120 on a brand new one. You know, I do find these quite useful. It uses very similar batteries now to some of the small Bosch power tools, which there's lots of things on the web about how you can swap these batteries. The annoying thing is See, that's a 12 volt, and they, if you can see, if I put it the same around, they've changed the moulding. So in some Bosch power tools you can't use Dremel, and you can't use Dremel batteries in some Bosch power tools. It's really stupid why they've done it. I don't know. It's not that it's 12 volts, because I've also seen that's 12 volts, and yeah, they're all slightly different, the design of these things. So you can basically swap them between each other if you can figure out how. But anyway, that seems to work. Right, just there you go. Just thought that might be interesting. As I say, I'd kind of assumed it would just be scrap, but if it lasts a few more years, then it's worth doing. Thanks.